So, how do you balance letting your toddler explore versus keeping them safe? So, as a dad, I struggle with this question a lot. How much freedom is too much freedom? A part of me wants to communicate the danger that arises, but a part of me also wants to let them figure it out, right? Let them find out what consequence happens with their action. My 2-year-old daughter, she's walking a lot now. And as a dad, it's a beautiful thing to see. How much she's progressed with walking. It's not always in a straight line, but she'll get there eventually. She'll stumble, look a bit like a drunken sailor, like my wife says, and there'll be a few pivots there, a few 360s, a few falls, but eventually she's got a will inside her that wants to get from point A to point B. And as a dad, sometimes I don't want to see her fall, right? Sometimes I want to communicate the danger that arises. But I also don't want to shield her from everything as well, right? With most 2-year-olds, we go to the park quite often. It's an evening ritual where we'll have dinner as a family, and then we'll try to get to the park here in the summer, just before the sun sets. And there'll be times where there was this one time where she decided to eat a couple of veggie sticks, but also walk around the park. And part of me wanted to take away the veggie sticks and just tell her that you can't do both, right? You're still learning to walk, right? But then this different part of me also says, you know what? Maybe she can do it, maybe she can't, but let her figure it out, right? Let her fall, and maybe let her learn from it. And surprisingly, she only fell a few times, and she felt the discomfort of falling, and I think to her she was okay with it, having two veggie sticks in both hands and walking and trying to figure it out. And then she tried to go down the stairs, and this is where she's struggling a bit. And as a dad, I don't want her to fall down the stairs, but part of me is also saying, let's just have her figure it out. If she falls, yeah, she might get hurt a little bit, might get a cut, but at least she'll know, right? At least she'll know for next time. At least she'll know what to avoid, right? That's the thing that sometimes I forget. I forget that, if you shield your child from, all the dangers in life, then they're not going to be used to that feeling, right? That feeling of failing or that feeling of getting hurt. And they'll think the world's just a great place, right? And, in life, at my age of 38, that definitely isn't the case, right? There's a lot of stuff in the world that isn't always going to go your way. Let's just say that. And you just got to be able to deal with it, right? And you got to be able to, at least I want her to be able to make decisions and just live with the results, right? And this is to a certain extent too, right? Because if it doesn't kill her, if it doesn't create a lot of if it's not a life-threatening situation, and the danger isn't maybe a scrape or a fall or a bump on the head, I want my child to just figure it out, right? Whereas when I grew up, my mom would always just communicate the danger right away, and I would avoid it, right? And it would just, I would try less things unless I knew all the risks and all the benefits, right? It was always like a calculation, but I don't want her to be like that, to be honest. I um, I think what I learned is that I learned that it's okay. It's okay to just step back. It's okay to let your child just be a child, right? If I'm looking at like down the line, I can't always be there for my daughter. I can't alert her to every danger. But what I can teach her now is just, I can teach her to just, make decisions on her own. You know, if she wants to hold some chips in her hand and walk, and then she's got to, realize that either A, I can do this or I can't, and learn for next time, right? But me just taking something out of her hand and just forcing her to do something, I don't think that's going to help her down the line, to be honest. And so I'd rather, you know, have her feel what danger feels like, right? Or teach her what danger feels like. Teach her the consequences of her actions. And I know it's a small situation. We're just talking about a day at the park and walking around, but walking's hard for her now. And she's got to learn, how to navigate her feet, how to go down the stairs. And yeah, sure, I could have helped her down the stairs, but I just wanted her to figure it out, right? And she smartly used her bum to just go step by step down, which is fine, right? Because she knows maybe she's not as strong, her legs aren't long enough to take that full step down the stairs. So, but that's the beauty in it. And so, yeah, I mean, the takeaway for me, and maybe the takeaway for you, is, instead of how do I keep them safe, it's, how do I let them learn, right? How do I let them explore? How do I just let them be kids, right? Because that's something that, I think they can take with them for the rest of their lives. Because when they're growing up and when they're 30, I'm definitely not going to be there all the time. That's for sure. You guys are on your own. Love, Dad.